Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. This is Tosca Di Matteo, founder of Tosca Coaching and Consulting, and I am here to talk to you today about this concept called the Bride Tribe. For those of you who are new to watching my show, I choose to talk about whatever is on my mind in service of helping us all live our best life. And so this concept of the Bride Tribe is something that was just introduced to me yesterday. I was invited not to be a bridesmaid, but to be part of the Bride Tribe for one of my really good friends. And I absolutely loved this notion because what she basically did was she created this whole new category and said, I'm going to create my own rules for what this is and who I'm going to invite. And I just love it because there's so many great messages in doing something like that, right? First of all, what she did was say, you know what, I am going to challenge the status quo. And I'm going to create something that actually works for me, for my values and my beliefs, and create a whole new category of group for her wedding, so that she could honor people in the way that she wanted, in a way that made sense for her. And I love that because so often what we do is we say, oh, this is how things are supposed to be done, and so I better just play within these rules and these guidelines. And guess what? Like, these rules are like we don't have to abide by them. We don't have to follow them. We can create our own rules. And in fact, we are in a moment in time where we need to do that now more than ever. Hi, Bravery Consulting. Thanks for joining today. I'm talking about this concept called the Bride Tribe, which is a whole new category that my friend kind of invented for her wedding because she wanted to create something different for what worked for her. And I'm like, what a wonderful concept that we all could use in our lives, you know? There's something about traditions, and then there's something about creating what works for you, right? And maybe not all traditions work for you or are aligned with what you want. This is a case in point for like all aspects of our lives, right? And so how do we just take a step back and say, what's important to me? What are my values? And what are my intentions? I think weddings can be really, really complicated and certainly full of lots of drama. And the same thing within organizations, as we all choose to gather in different ways. And, how do we find roles for ourselves, and how do we get the most out of what we're doing? This really makes me think of, the book, The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker, which I absolutely love. Because, her biggest principle is like really gathering intentionally. And it also ties in, I think, like, how can we be more inclusive? And how do we exclude intentionally, right? For what does not serve what our goals are. And, if you know anything about me, I'm a huge advocate of inclusivity. But also sometimes it's important to really think about, like, who don't you want in the room when you're thinking about certain objectives and goals. And, certainly weddings are part of that, right? Like, do you want the crazy uncle in the room, or is it going to completely just like be a complete disaster, and then you're going to maybe intentionally exclude somebody, and when we do this, right, when we make choices that go against the norm, that go against the rules that have been established for ever and ever, certainly there can be a rebellion against that, right? There can be an objection People aren't comfortable with those who break rules. I mean, how many people do you know in your life that you consider a rule follower? I mean, it's funny because like one of the rules that I break all the time is like I don't wear a seatbelt on airplanes, because I'm like, what's the freaking point? Do I really need to wear this thing right now? Now, you may object to this. I will say that my husband certainly struggles with the fact that I just don't follow that rule, because I think it's silly. So, right, we all make these choices. Like, where are we butting up against the status quo? And I think, we're in this place in time where we really have to start to question, like, what rules are we playing by? And what rules do we want to create that actually serve us? And which rules do we want to bend? And where do we want to beg for forgiveness versus ask for permission? Because we are all the rulers of our world. We all have that autonomy and power and freedom. And I think sometimes we get caught in the trap of like not actually honoring our freedom of choice, in which in this country we are super privileged to have, and other countries don't have the same. So if we're not using our free will to advance ourselves and our humanity, then who's going to do it? Who else? We can't leave that to other people. How do we find progress? How do we evolve? How do we transform if all we're doing is continuing to play by the same rules? And so by designing life your way, right? By designing life in a way that works for you, what you're doing is you are opening to limitless possibilities, right? You are allowing for the chains and constraints to come off. And, the simple idea of creating a whole nother category of support for the bride, to me, is like an awesome way of saying, like, I'm going to just explore what else is possible for what I want to do. And, I think that we have to ask, like, are we playing the game that somebody else created? Or are we creating our own game? And this really makes me think also about, the process of like career hunting, right? Because there's all these like rules and kind of formats and standards. And guess what? Like the process is broken, right? And so we have to say, well, why don't we just play our game? Why don't we just do things the way that allow us to be our best selves, that allow us to tell our stories, and see where that takes us? And often what that does is it differentiates us from the masses, because we're not playing anybody else's game, we're playing our own game. I don't know if you can hear my dog in the background, but this seems to be a trend. Like during Feisty on Friday, she wants like love and attention. She's gonna have to wait because we're playing the rules that I have, and my rule is you don't get to go outside at 11 o'clock. Anyway, okay, so we're talking about creating new rules. We're talking about breaking them. We're talking about not being constrained and being confined. And we're talking about changing the way we think about things, which always, first and foremost, is about being aware of what your mindset is. And is that mindset serving you? I was working with a client who she worked on her resume, and her primary focus was on the keywords situation, right? And making sure like every keyword was there. And then what happened was like there wasn't a focus on her narrative and her storytelling. And what happens is then we start playing rules about, the technology, which is super flawed and super biased. And we're not really focused on, like, am I sharing the best of me? Am I sharing what I'm most proud of? Am I using my own language and letting myself shine through? Rather than using language that just reflects the keywords in the industry. And I'm not saying there's not a place for that, and there's certainly like the realities of these systems. But I don't subscribe to focusing on that. I subscribe to, first and foremost, be telling our authentic stories. So yeah, I think this whole topic applies to so many different things. And the same thing about creating our own rules, right? Like, I've had several conversations with people. I may have even talked about this last week, right? Where you get a question in an interview, and it's a question that you really can't stand. But guess what? You have the right to pivot, just like politicians do when they get asked questions in debates. They can dismiss the question and answer a totally different question if they want. It's just about realizing, oh, you don't have to play by that exact game and rule. And you know what? The organizations that appreciate that are meant for you, and the ones that don't and want you to play by all the rules that they have, like, maybe that's not for you. Maybe that's not the game that you want to play, right? So, yeah, I mean, I'm just curious, if you're watching this, leave in the comments, like what's the new status quo that you want to create? What's the rule that you want to break? What's the new club that you want to form? Like, how do you want to define the game for yourself? And I think that's really important, to say in any situation, like, what is my intention? What is my intention with this interview? Is my intention to be myself? Is my intention to, like, land this job? And, that latter one is actually outside of your control, right? So how do we set our intentions in a way that we can control, right? So my friend set this intention for her wedding, which was about, how do I honor this union and our combined relationship? And that had a lot to do with how she chose her guest list. And that's also very in line with how Priya Parker talks about gathering, right? Just all the intention behind it. And so these are just some food for thought for this really quick Feisty on Friday. Because actually this year's International Women's Day, which is coming up on March 8th, the topic, the theme this year is choosing to challenge. And if y'all have seen any of my stuff, you know that is right in my wheelhouse. And this is a perfect example of how we can choose to challenge systems that don't serve us, that choose to challenge ways of thinking that don't serve us, institutions, policies, all of that stuff. So as you start your weekend, go forth, get out there, and challenge whatever it is. I am so glad that you joined, and I look forward to seeing you next week on Feisty on Friday. In the meantime, have an awesome weekend, and ciao for now.